On June 5th, 2026, the Japanese stock market barely moved. Like, if you were just a casual observer watching the evening news, it looked like the most boring trading day of the entire year.
Yeah, completely flat, just glassy.
Right, completely flat. But, beneath that totally glassy surface, two cutting-edge artificial intelligence systems were actually suffering, well, the most catastrophic collapses in their operational history. So, welcome to today's deep dive.
Thanks. It really is a fascinating paradox we're unpacking today.
It is, because we are getting this really exclusive over-the-shoulder look into a raw observation log from Team AI Lab. And for you listening, we're basically analyzing the real-time performance of two drastically different algorithmic trading strategies.
Right. They're battling it out in this violently shifting environment, and we're trying to figure out why the math, suddenly stopped working.
Exactly. And to set the stage, imagine standing in the middle of a torrential storm.
Yeah.
How do you survive? Do you try to find the eye of the hurricane where everything is still? Or do you, build a surfboard and try to ride the tsunami?
That's a great way to put it, because what we are observing today is fundamentally a story about adaptation and survival. We're watching two completely opposing philosophies of logic try to hold up when the world around them goes crazy.
Okay, so let's introduce our two philosophical camps. On one side, we have Team Mountain Climbers.
Yeah.
And the log defines their core strategy as equilibrium detection.
Right. So think of equilibrium detection as the ultimate search for the quiet spot in a noisy room.
The eye of the hurricane.
Exactly. Mathematically, this strategy is built on the concept of mean reversion. So the algorithm assumes that no matter how volatile things get, prices and relationships they'll snap back to a historical average.
Like a rubber band.
Yeah, exactly like a rubber band.
Right.
They are scanning the chaos for those unmoving points, carefully testing the statistical weight of every single trade, and just waiting for the pendulum to swing back to the center.
So they are constantly looking for that rubber band to snap back. If something gets stretched way too far, they bet on the return to normal.
Right.
Then on the other side, we have Team Wave Riders, and their strategy is called surging force tracking, which sounds aggressive.
It is. They are playing a completely different game. They don't care about balance. They don't care about normal. They basically want to ally themselves with the raw, chaotic momentum of the rough seas.
So they're building the surfboard.
Exactly. It's pure momentum trading, driven by the physics of inertia. The wave riders operate on the logic that an object in motion tends to stay in motion.
Makes sense.
So if a specific asset or, a whole sector starts accelerating rapidly, this algorithm doesn't try to guess when it'll stop or return to average. It simply tries to jump on top of that energy and ride the trend.
Just ride it for as long as the underlying velocity holds up. Okay, so momentum versus mean reversion. It's a classic battle. But here is where we hit the data from June 5th. And the brutal reality of what actually happened.
The storm hits.
The storm hits. Both teams took incredibly severe hits. I mean, let me look at the log Team Mountain Climbers. Dropped by negative 22.7 daily points. And Team Wave Riders plunged even harder, dropping by negative 24.6 points.
Yeah.
Now, before we go further, we really need to contextualize what a point is in this specific log. Because this isn't just a simple percentage drop, right?
No, not at all. When the logs state they dropped 24 points, you have to think of that as a proprietary risk-adjusted scoring metric used by Team AI Lab to measure algorithmic health.
Okay.
In these types of sophisticated institutional systems, dropping past a -5 usually triggers, internal alarms and emergency halt.
Wow, -5 is the alarm.
Yeah, so seeing a -22.7 or a -24.6, that is way beyond a bad day at the office. It's an absolute bloodbath.
It's a total failure.
It indicates a catastrophic failure of the foundational formulas that are actually running the strategies.
Which brings us to the core anomaly, right? The thing that makes this specific log so fascinating for us to dive into today. Because with a bloodbath of -24 points, you would naturally assume the entire global economy was actively burning to the ground.
You'd think it was a historic freefall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you look at the broad market indices in the log for that exact same day, against the Nikkei 225, the mountain climbers were only -0.1.
Barely a scratch.
And they were actually positive 0.2 against the TOPX.
Right.
And then the wave riders, they were just -0.4 against the Nikkei and -0.1 against the TOPX.
Right.
So the entire market was basically completely flat.
Right, and this is where it gets crazy. Because the casual observer sees that flat average and thinks, well, nothing is happening today. But beneath the hood of these specific strategies, the engines are literally tearing themselves apart.
So mechanically, how does that work? How is it physically possible for an index representing the entire market to be perfectly flat, while the top-tier algorithms trading inside that very same market are experiencing a catastrophic 24-point failure?
Well, it really comes down to correlation breakdown.
Okay, correlation breakdown. Walk us through that.
So an index like Nikkei is just a massive weighted average of hundreds of companies, right?
Right.
Now imagine you are an algorithm trading two major car manufacturers. Let's just call them Company A and Company B.
Sure.
Historically, your math says they are inversely correlated. When A goes up 2%, B drops 2%.
Okay, they're on a seesaw.
Exactly. You build your entire risk model and your equilibrium strategy on that seesaw. You buy one, you short the other, and you safely capture the difference.
You are relying on that historical rubber band connecting them.
Yes. But now, imagine an unprecedented day where a highly specific supply chain shock hits, maybe an obscure microchip they both use, but simultaneously the broader global economy gets a massive, unexpected stimulus package.
Oh, wow. So totally mixed signals.
Totally. The macro environment is screaming, buy everything, but the microenvironment is saying panic in the auto sector. So suddenly, Company A drops 15%, and Company B spikes 20%.
The rubber band just snapped.
Violently. It didn't stretch, it just broke. So if you look at the entire market average, those huge spikes and massive drops across different sectors, they basically cancel each other out.
So the index just reads as perfectly flat.
Right. But an algorithm caught on the wrong side of those violent, unpredicted internal swings, it gets absolutely decimated.
Because the AI is trying to apply yesterday's physics to today's reality. It expects a seesaw, and instead the entire playground just inverted.
The rules of engagement shifted literally overnight, and the system just didn't know how to process it. The underlying logic of the market completely decoupled from historical norms.
So mean reversion fails because the mean no longer exists.
Exactly, and momentum fails because the trends are, well, they're snapping backward without any warning.
Right. So if the internal mathematical environment is suddenly this hostile, how do these algorithmic systems decide who to actually deploy into this meat grinder?
That's a great question.
Which leads us to the 9:20 a.m. daily scouting protocol in the logs. This is basically the morning draft, where the systems autonomously decide if they want to inject new units, which are labeled here as new talent, into the market.
And the decisions the algorithms make during the scouting phase, they reveal the core differences in how they process structural failure.
Right, because the log shows that the mountain climbers, the ones looking for equilibrium, they drafted 0 new units today. 0. While the wave riders, the momentum chasers, they drafted exactly 1 new unit.
Just 1 unit, out of a massive system designed to rapidly hunt for surging trends.
Wait, okay, let me stop you there. If an AI is literally programmed to relentlessly seek out and exploit market gaps, how does drafting 0 units equal discipline? Because to me, that sounds like this system just froze up in a panic. You know, exactly like a human trader who just watched their portfolio tank and becomes too terrified to click the buy button.
Yeah, I totally get why it looks like that. It looks like panic from a human perspective because we inherently equate inaction with fear.
Exactly.
But we have to strip the emotion out of the math here. An algorithm doesn't feel the psychological weight of a 24-point drop. It doesn't sweat, right? It doesn't try to revenge trade to win its money back.
It's just cold logic.
Pure logic.
Yeah.
It calculates probability matrices. So what we are seeing with the mountain climbers drafting 0 is the ultimate expression of mathematical discipline.
So it's scanning the horizon and simply rejecting the premise of the game.
That's exactly it. The algorithm analyzed millions of real-time data points, measured the current volatility against its historical models, and basically concluded that the mathematical probability of finding true equilibrium in this specific storm is literally 0.
Wow.
So unlike a human who might feel the urge to just, do something to fix it, the algorithm simply powers down its deployment mechanism.
Yeah.
The expected value of any trade is negative, so it refuses to play.
Refuses to play. And the wave riders drafting only 1 unit tells a really similar story. Even a system explicitly designed to ride chaos could only find 1 single micro trend in the entire ocean that fit its definition of a survivable wave.
Right. The systems aren't scared, they are just ruthlessly objective about the broken mechanics of the current market.
Which forces us to look at the units that couldn't just power down, right? The active roster.
Yes, the active roster. This is where it gets really intense.
Right, the veterans that are already out there in the water.
Okay.
The logs note they are serving a mandated 10-session tenure. What exactly does that parameter mean for these algorithms?
So think of a session as a discrete bounded mission. Team AI Lab deploys these units with a strict operational lifespan, 10 trading sessions, or distinct market periods, to execute their specific logic and then return their yield.
Okay, so they're like deep-sea submersibles.
That's a perfect analogy. They're like submersibles given enough battery power for 10 dives. Once they are launched into the market, they are completely committed to running their logic loops until that tenure expires.
So they cannot be magically recalled just because the weather got bad.
No, they're out there.
And the numbers for these active submersibles, they paint a really vivid picture of just how unforgiving this new reality is. So for the mountain climbers, they have 10 units currently serving their tenure, but only 3 of them are managing to hold positive points.
Yep.
And the Wave Riders have 15 units deployed, and only 5 are in the green.
So we are looking at roughly a 30 to 33% survival rate for both strategies.
That's brutal.
It is. The vast majority of these units are just being structurally dismantled by the market. Whether they're seeking a quiet mean reversion spot or trying to ride the momentum, the breakdown of correlation is just churning their logic to pieces.
But we really need to zoom in on those specific survivors. Because while most units are drowning in this new regime, a few actually hit their exit protocol today. They miraculously survived their full 10-session mission and made it out alive.
And from a research and system design perspective, these anomalies, the survivors within the anomaly, they're the most valuable data points in the entire log.
Okay, so let's look at exactly who survived. The mountain climbers successfully extracted a positive 9.6 final total points from a very specific cluster of sectors. And those were precision instruments, glass and ceramics products, chemicals, and machinery.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Wave Riders managed to pull a positive 4.3 final total points out of just one single sector, retail trade.
Just one. But those specific sectors and the units that successfully navigated them, they act as lighthouses in the dark.
Lighthouses, I like that.
Yeah, because while 70% of the market's fundamental logic is failing, these isolated pockets of success prove that equilibrium and momentum can actually still be found.
So why these specific microenvironments? Like, how do precision instruments and glass ignore the macro storm that's tearing up the rest of the market?
It usually comes down to structural insulation.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, sectors like precision instruments or, specialized chemicals, they often have highly inelastic supply chains and very rigid, long-term contractual pricing.
Oh, I see. They're locked in.
Exactly. They don't react to sudden macroeconomic panics because their immediate reality doesn't change overnight. They're producing and delivering highly specialized goods to a locked-in client base.
So the mountain climber algorithm found a space where the mean was actually still stable, basically walled off from the broader market panic.
It found a literal quiet cave inside the hurricane where the old physics still applied.
That's incredible. And look at the Wave Riders finding success in retail trade, because retail is a completely different beast, right?
Yeah.
It is heavily driven by consumer sentiment, which is highly emotional, very trend-heavy, and totally momentum-based.
Right, because consumer behavior is trackable energy. Even if the institutional financial world is totally confused and correlations are breaking down between all these complex derivatives,
Right.
if everyday consumers are suddenly panic buying a certain category of goods, that momentum is raw, real, and undeniable.
It's pure human nature.
Exactly. The Wave Rider algorithm successfully locked onto that very human behavioral wave and rode it to a positive 4.3-point exit, just totally ignoring the institutional chaos.
So these few adapters are showing the AI exactly where the new rules of the market are being written. It's absolutely fascinating to see the logic isolate itself like that.
It is.
But we need to step back and look at the whole scorecard, right? The overall season standings. Because we need to see the cumulative toll this structural break has actually taken on both teams.
Yeah, and the carryover balances reveal the fundamental risk profiles of these two strategies.
Let's look at the mountain climbers first. Despite today's massive 22-point hit, they have actually held on to a positive 4.0 total season points.
Right.
But that is almost entirely thanks to a carryover balance of positive 19.80 points that they painstakingly built up before the storm hit.
They essentially stored nuts for the winter through slow, steady mean reversion trades. So when winter arrived violently, that buffer kept them barely in positive territory.
Barely. But the Wave Riders, I mean, they came into today with a staggering positive 56.6-point carryover balance.
Massive buffer.
They were absolutely crushing the market, right?
Huh?
Generating huge returns by riding momentum. But the sheer violence of today's 24.6-point drop completely wiped out their remaining buffer, sinking them to a negative 1.3 total season points.
It perfectly illustrates the double-edged sword of a surging force philosophy.
Yeah, definitely.
Riding momentum builds incredible mass and high scores during a clear trend. You compound your wins rapidly, but when that trend breaks without warning, like when the wave unexpectedly crashes against a hidden cliff, the destruction is total, it's immediate, and it's proportional to your speed.
The faster you go, the harder you crash.
Exactly. The mountain climbers' slow, steady search for equilibrium gave them a much smaller buffer, but their underlying logic was slightly more resilient to a sudden, catastrophic shock.
Now remember, and we really need to stress this, Team AI Lab isn't generating retail buy alerts here.
No, absolutely not.
These logs are pure science experiments designed to stress test mathematical models in extreme conditions. They're not telling you what to do with your retirement portfolios. We're essentially standing in a sterile laboratory, watching researchers drop anvils on different types of structural engineering to see which one shatters first.
That boundary is so critical for you listening to keep in mind. The researchers tuning these algorithms are not looking at these daily scores, these severe negative 24-point drops as financial defeats.
Right.
To the algorithm, a severe drop is not a failure to be mourned. It is simply an invaluable, newly minted piece of observation data.
It reminds me of a robot vacuum bumping into a new piece of furniture in the living room.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Like, the vacuum doesn't feel sad or defeated that it hit the couch. It doesn't question its entire purpose in life. It just logs the exact coordinate of the failure so it doesn't hit the couch again tomorrow. It uses the collision to map the boundaries of the room.
That's exactly what's happening. When the WaveWriter algorithm gets decimated by a correlation breakdown, it is explicitly mapping the exact boundaries of the new market regime. It is learning where the cliffs are.
Right, finding the walls.
These brutal daily drops are the exact blueprints needed to build the next iteration of the strategy. They provide the foundational math that will eventually conquer this new environment once the dust finally settles. Team AI Lab is just watching their creations map the unknown through the process of elimination.
So what does this all mean for you and me sitting here outside the AI laboratory? We've watched two incredibly sophisticated philosophies, the steady equilibrium seekers and the chaotic momentum riders,
Yeah.
just get completely battered by a sudden shift in reality.
Yeah, battered is the right word.
We've seen them draft 0 new units out of pure mathematical discipline, and we've seen a tiny handful of their veterans act as lighthouses, right?
Mhm.
Surviving in isolated pockets of intact logic.
It demonstrates that survival in a structurally shifting environment requires ruthless adaptation. And adaptation requires unbiased observation of reality.
You have to see things as they are.
Exactly. You have to recognize when the underlying math of your situation has changed, rather than just hoping the arid rules come back.
And I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder today. Think about system design for a second. Humans inherently design systems, whether it's our careers, our business models, or even our personal habits for the environments we already know.
We optimize for the sunny days.
Exactly. We optimize our lives for the sunny days. But true resilience, the kind Team AI Lab is programming into these machines, isn't about perfectly avoiding the crash. When a strategy fails in an algorithm, the AI uses the crash to map the new walls of the maze.
Right.
How might your life change if you treated your own personal or professional setbacks not as devastating defeats, but purely as valuable observation data? What if your worst days are actually just the required blueprints for optimizing your next successful strategy?
If you can adopt the mindset of the observation log, stripping the emotion from the failure and just extracting the data, you can survive those structural breaks.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep observing the data.